Today I'm going to show you how to use Excel and Visual Basic to manipulate files and folders on your computer. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open the Visual Basic editor by going Alt F11, and I'm going to insert a module. It's a good practice to always rename your module something meaningful. That's kind of a naming convention I use, MDL underscore and then something meaningful. Whatever you choose, I would recommend something where you just keep it consistent. Okay, I'm going to show you first. I'm going to show you how to do this with late data binding, and then I'm going to explain why this is not my preferred method and show you the advantages to using a reference. The first disadvantage to doing it this way is you have to declare your variables as just a generic object. You don't have FileSystemObject as a data type. A symptom of that is you don't get IntelliSense. So for example, you'll notice when I hit dot, I didn't have any IntelliSense. Normally, in Visual Basic, when you hit a dot, you get that object's properties and methods. Because we're using a generic object type, it doesn't know until runtime what object that's going to be, so it can't give you IntelliSense. Okay. Now, the code will still run. It makes it harder, especially when you're not familiar with the object model, to write the code. Okay, so for example, what this is going to do, first it's going to set FSO equal to an instance of FileSystemObject, and then we are going to set FLDR, or folder shortened, equal to a reference to C:temp. Okay. Now for each file in folder.files, let's see, what do I have in my temp folder right now? Okay, good. I do have a couple folders, or a couple files in there. Couldn't remember. So now for each one of those files, it's going to print the file name in the debug window. And it did. So if I run this, boom, you get all the file names. Okay. So the code will definitely run this way, and it'll run just as fast with or without references. Now let me show you what happens when you add a reference, and I think you'll see why I prefer to do it this way. So it's very simple to add a reference. Just go Tools, References. The list is alphabetical except for the ones that you've already done a reference to. These are default. I didn't add these. Microsoft adds those by default. You can jump down. The name of the reference I want is Microsoft Scripting Runtime. So if I hit M, it'll jump me down to the start of the M's. And then you just got to scroll and find it. Microsoft Scripting Runtime. There it is. Click the little box, and now we have a reference to Microsoft Scripting Runtime. So now when I do dim FSO as new file, oh look, FileSystemObject is now a data type. Folder is now a data type. File is now a data type. So also when I do FLDR, so.get folder, I get my IntelliSense. Greatly helps you. Plus, if you don't know what all of the methods are, what all the properties are, you can just type in. So that's the FSO methods. These are the folder properties. You got your date created, last accessed, last modified, the drive letter, collection of files in the folder. You can move it. It'll give you the name, the parent folder, the path, the short name, a bunch of different properties. Okay, for now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the files collection, and I'm just going to print the file name down here in the immediate window. So if I run this, that is the name of the files in my temp folder. And sure enough, that's what my temp folder looks like. Those are my files. Okay. You can also do things like rename or move or make a copy. Let's do this. File.move dot parent folder and file .txt. Actually, I'm going to do that a little differently. File name string. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to go that way so that I can do this. I'm just going to run it, let it stop right there, and I'm going to do a debug.print file name. Okay, so you can see now. So when I let it go to this next line, it's going to move the file, which effectively just renames it. So now we have a file called file0. Now it's going to add one to I. So now file name is going to be file1.txt, so it's going to take the next file and it's going to rename it. And I got an error because that file exists. So one way that you can get around that is you can say if fso.file exists, okay. So now this is saying if the file already exists, or I'm sorry, if the file doesn't exist, then move it. If the file already exists, it's not going to do anything. So now, just like that, we have renamed our files. There we go. Okay, you can also be careful with this one. I just ran it, no prompts, no are you sure, very quickly all the files in my folder are gone. So if you did that on accident, that could be very painful for you. Okay, you can also do things, and this is something that I've done several times. It's very helpful. So you can do things like this. For non-date state value. Oops. There we go. Okay. So what this is going to do, we're going to create a reference to that same folder. We've got a date variable here, and it's going to go from January 1st, 2021 to December 31st, and for each day of the year, create a new folder for that day, formatted in 4-digit year, 2-digit month, and 2-digit day. Put this way so we can do what we did before. Okay, and I'm just going to do this right here. And we're going to F8 through this. So first time through the loop, January 1st, folder name equals C temp. And then you can see it's got the 4-digit year, 2-digit month, 1-digit day. And it's going to debug it down here. And then it's going to create that folder. So now if we look in our ctemp folder, sure enough, there's a folder. Okay, I'm going to comment this out and I'm just going to let it run. And just that quick, 365 folders were just created. If we look in here, sure enough, one for each day. Perfect consistency, it's very quick. So if you're doing things like foldering reports in a different folder every day of the year, this will guarantee that they're in a very consistent naming convention very quickly and with just a few lines of code. I'm going to delete these, and now I'm going to show you another application for this. Let's say you have a list of employees. I got here a list of 250 employee names. I just used a random data generator to generate a bunch of names. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to alright, dim range as range, dim cell as range. Oops. And we're going to do it for each. So range.cells. Dim file name as string. File name equals and cell value and .txt. Now that's really a folder. Getting myself confused. Folder name. It wouldn't have mattered, but for consistency's sake, I'm going to put a stop right here just to make sure. Oops, what did I do? RNG. Okay. CL. There we go. For each cell, so what this is going to do is first I have to set range equal to this workbook.work sheets1.range, and it's A2 through A251. I'm getting ahead of myself through A251. There we go. So first thing we need to do is set this range variable equal to our range that has our names. And I can show you that it is by doing this address. Okay, so it refers to A2 through A251. So for each cell in that range, so the first time through that loop, it's A2. Okay, and you can see here, there's my new folder name. I don't want the txt. I'm getting folder and file mixed up in my brain for some reason. There we go. That looks better. Okay, so there's your new folder name. It's going to create that folder. Okay. Next time through, now CL. Is A3. Which A3 is Andrea's story. And let's see here, sure enough, there's Andrea's stories folder. Create that folder. I'm going to take this stop out. I'm just going to let it run. And if we look in the ctemp folder now, we have 250 folders, one for each employee. So that's another practical use for this kind of system. And we can put in, again, we can put in something like if fso.folder exists, folder name equals false, then end if. Okay, so what that'll do now, if I were to go in here and I were to add in some new people, like that, the first 3 names are new, the rest are already there. So if I run this, it's not going to try to create a second copy of each of those that were already there. But if we scroll down here to Paul Sassy, there I am, and I think I said Michael Smith was one of them there, and then Bob Jones was one of the 3 new ones, which is right here. So it will create new folders only for those that don't have them already. So if you had a directory with all of your employees and a folder for each employee, you could run this code and it'll only do the ones that don't already exist. I've done something similar to this with like supplier names, catalog of part numbers, etc. Anytime you want a large number of folders. Okay, so that's kind of just a primer, some examples of the kinds of things that you can do with FileSystemObject. There's a lot more that you can do. There's a lot of good tutorials on the internet for this. I've found that part of especially when you're brand new to learning Visual Basic or other programming, is it's hard to know how to search. So for this one, this is how I would search if you're looking for a tutorial on FileSystemObject for Visual Basic for applications. There's a bunch of good ones, and if there's something like rename a file, it'll tell you. Okay, you'll have a bunch of different options. Okay, if you have any questions, you're always free to reach out to me. If you have a project you'd like me to work on, some automation, give me a call, send me an email. I'd be happy to talk with you. I'm here to help you excel. Thank you.